Hello, everyone. Welcome to Advanced Patterns for Case Management Studio, or Building Intelligent Case Management Solutions. My name is Kirsten Carlson. I'm a lead Appian developer. I have about 8 going on 9 years of Appian experience, and I have about 3 years of experience with my company, Nuvatech. Nuvatech is an AI-first small business focused on providing innovative IT solutions for government and commercial clients. We're an Appian partner known for combining agile development and cutting-edge technology to deliver scalable, secure, and mission-critical solutions for our clients. And I'm here with my partner today, TJ.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Egbeong Tanjong, but you can call me TJ. I am a senior consultant at Nuvatech with over 5 years of experience building tools using Appian.
Great, so I'm just gonna get started by going over the agenda for today. My mic is making a little bit of noise. So we started off with an introduction of ourselves and as well as where we work, Nuvatech. Next, TJ is going to take us through a Case Management Studio crash course, just for those of us who maybe aren't as familiar with Case Management Studio. We'll get some background. After that, I'm going to dive into a practical use case where we're gonna go over a solution that we made for a client and then we kind of extrapolated to a little demo app for you guys here at Appian World today. So we'll take some time to go through some of the custom solutions that we extended on Case Management Studio, or that the clients are able to implement themselves on the front end. After that, we will have a summary portion where we'll go over everything that we've learned, and hopefully at the end, we'll have some time for questions. So, to start off.
All right, so let's start off with the question. Before we dive in, how many of you have hands-on experience implementing Case Management Studio for a customer? Okay, glad to see that quite a few people have tried it out. So like Kirsten mentioned, we will begin today by going over a brief overview of Case Management Studio. All right, so like many of us will know, managing cases is complex and typically requires coordination across multiple people and even teams. It's a challenge to ensure that cases are efficiently managed from when the case is initiated to when it is resolved. This challenge becomes even more obvious in cases where processes have evolving requirements or changing user needs. It is quite demanding to maintain a seamless end-to-end experience, one that routes the right information to the right people at the right time. And this is where Appian's Case Management Studio comes in. Appian's Case Management Studio is a fast-to-deploy, out-of-the-box solution that attempts to address some of these challenges. So it enables rapid implementation, fast deployment, flexible extensibility by both the business and developers, all this with minimal development effort, allowing for organizations to better support evolving case management needs. Okay, so Appian's Case Management Studio is designed to support 3 primary user personas. So we have case managers, we have case workers, and then we have us, the low-code developers. Each of these user personas is provided with a tailored environment, one that is aligned with your specific responsibilities, just enabling them to perform their task a little bit more efficiently. So for case managers, they actually work out of the control panel. The control panel is where case managers go in to configure these workflows, processes, and rules that the case workers eventually use as they take action on the cases. As opposed to the control panel for case workers, they work in Workspace. So Workspace is where case workers go, and they use all these processes that were configured by the case manager to actually take action on the cases as well. And then, like always, developers like us work in Designer to further modify or extend the objects that were generated by the case manager and the control panel. So to just make this concept clearer, we will go through a brief recording of the control panel. Okay. Yeah, so like I mentioned, the control panel is where case managers go into configure processes, workflows, and rules that case workers eventually use as they take action on cases. At the highest level of the control panel, we have the case structure, which comes out of the box. And then the case can have multiple categories, with each category supporting multiple types. So it's a 3-layer data structure. And further down the presentation, Kirsten will show why, or how that can be useful, especially when you're trying to extend the tool. So what we have on the screen is a control panel, like I mentioned. At the level of the case, which is the level that we're at, you can add data fields. If you're not sure what data fields to add, for example, you can use that nifty AI tool to suggest some data fields for you. You can add interfaces at the level of the case as well, as you can see. And you can also add some automation rules at the level of the case. What we see are 4 different categories. From the home page, you can also create a new category. You can create a new type, or you can drill down into a category. Remember, the category is the next level, the level below the case. So at the level of the category, you can add data fields as well. You can even modify the data fields that were added at the level of the case. You can set up interfaces at the level of the category as well. You can set up automation rules at the level of the category as well. Finally, like we said, it's a 3-layer structure. So within the categories, you have types. So if you drill down into a specific type, for example, you can add data fields at the level of the type as well. Interfaces, you can also add automation rules, details. But then the most important thing is at the level of the type, you can set up the workflows. And the workflows form the basis through which the caseworkers actually complete the different tasks as they go through the cases. So at the level of the workflow, this is where you simply just build the step-by-step process through which caseworkers take actions on these cases. There's a concept of milestones, where it's just a group of tasks. You can go ahead and update the workflow. You can add tasks to the workflow. You can take out tasks. And you can set this up in more detail, which Kirsten will go through. If we came back to the home page, there's a concept of tasking. This is where the tasks that you use in the workflow tab come from. You can create a new task out of the box. There are a bunch of task types that are available to business users. But in the drop-down, like you see, we did add a signature task, which means you can extend this solution if you wanted to fit your use case. And then finally, we have the email templates section. In the email template section, it's inside the section that you just set templates that will serve as the base of the emails that get sent out with notifications as the case workers go on and taking actions on the cases. Yeah. So just to recap, this is the control panel. The control panel is tailored for case managers, and it's at the control panel that case managers go ahead and set up these workflows that the case workers eventually use when they actually take action on cases. So again, we just saw the control panel. Moving on to Workspace. Workspace is where case workers actually go to, again, like I mentioned, take action on these cases. So we'll watch a brief video on Workspace as well, just to give you an idea of what Workspace looks like. All right, so this is Workspace, where the case workers will land to do their work. In the middle column of Workspace, we have a cases section. We also have a task section. The cases and the task sections just give the case workers the ability to take quick action on cases and tasks that are assigned to them. On the rightmost column, we also have like a metric. That metric just gives them an idea of all the cases that are in progress, just to help them go through those cases more efficiently as well. Going further, on the rightmost column, we have a calendar module, which is also an extension. That calendar module just gives them a time-based view of the different tasks and cases as well. From there, they can easily click through and complete their cases and tasks more efficiently. There's also a recent activities section. The recent activities section just gives a summary of all the different activities taken by the case worker as well. That just shows the calendar module. And then on the leftmost section, we do have a button to submit a case. So when you go to submit a case, this is where you use some of those UIs that were set up in the control panel, the types as well. We have a bunch of types that we created. All those UIs become functional here. You can submit the case at this point. There's also the concept of entities. You can create an entity at this point as well. And then this view is actually the view of a case manager. So there is like the manage case types tab that you can click to seamlessly move between Workspace and the control panel. But for the typical case worker, they won't see the very third tab. So if we drill into an example case to just take a look, on the summary page, we have information about the case, we have some details, we have milestones, tasks, comments, all information about the case that is helpful to keep the case moving. We also have a workflow tab. That workflow tab has the workflow that was set up in the control panel, and it just gives the caseworker the step-to-step view of how the case is getting completed. We do have a documents tab as well that just holds all the documents related to the case. And then finally, there's the history tab that carries the audit of all the actions taken on the case. Back to the home page, there is a dedicated cases tab, which just shows a list of all the cases. We do also have an entities tab as well. And then one other thing we added to the application was a reports tab to just centralize key metrics for case managers and case workers. Yeah, so just to recap, Workspace is where case workers will go to take action on cases. Okay, so from what was shown briefly, it does seem like from the front end, case managers can go ahead and set up all these workflows, and case workers can go into Workspace and just start acting on these workflows. So it seems like the devs are missing from the equation. The question becomes, why should developers still care about Case Management Studio? To answer this, we highlighted 4 reasons, but there are many more. For those who have tried to implement this, you'll attest to the fact that there are many more reasons why developers should care about Case Management Studio. So in terms of the 4 reasons, the very first reason is that from the case management-based application within Designer, developers are able to very easily locate and modify a lot of these objects that were created in the control panel automatically when the case manager went in and configured all these workflows. So pretty much in the control panel, when the case manager goes in and clicks through to set up the workflows and set up all these rules, in Designer, Appian actually automatically creates all these record types, and these record types are easily locatable by the developers, and it's easy for them to extend the solutions, it's easy for them to reuse some of these components, it's easy for them to modify these components, it's easy for them to even set permissions on some of these objects. So the developers are still very useful. The second point is that it does empower the business, and it enhances collaboration between developers and business users. And this is particularly important because there is a learning curve. There's most likely going to be trainings that will need to be done. Because like I explained, in the control panel, it's a 3-level data structure, so you may need to explain how to set it up best to take advantage of it. So developers are useful or can have a great impact when it comes to this. Next, you can also easily extend the tool. The out-of-the-box solution is good, but you can extend the tool. You can add modules, for example, like the public portal module. Like Kirsten will show, you can also incorporate AI into some of these workflows, just pretty much extending the workflows and making them more efficient. And then finally, because a lot of these base objects are able to be created from the control panel, this just allows developers to focus a little bit more on high-level development, high-end development as opposed to building all those base objects. So the next question I have is, who's built something custom with Case Management Studio before?
Okay.
All right.
We're going to learn something new. Okay. Probably why you're in the session. Okay, so let's put it into practice. We're going to take what TJ just showed, the workspace, the control panel, and we're going to show some ways that we extended it for a client so that maybe you guys can take some of it and apply it to your own. So I'm going to walk through a use case with you guys. We've actually tailored it kind of to Appian World. This is a conference proposal app. We did initially build a conference proposal app for an actual customer, but we are just using Appian World as a use case example here for you guys. So the idea for this application is that presenters, such as TJ and I, will submit a session proposal, say, hey, at Appian World, we really want to come talk to you guys about Case Management Studio. And then Appian will need to go through some approvals. It'll decline. It'll route it to whoever needs to do those approvals. It'll send out emails. It'll request signatures at the end, that sort of thing. So the first thing that we've done to extend this is incorporate an AI agent that attempts to identify duplicates and then just auto-reject them. So for example, I'm going to use Case Management Studio again. Let's say let TJ and I submit our proposal, we get accepted, it's ready to go, and then Appian gets 20 more proposals for Case Management Studio sessions. We aren't at the Case Management Studio conference, we don't want to have all of those, and we don't want to waste human reviewer time by going through all of them as well. So we have incorporated an AI agent that looks at the cases that were submitted, identifies if there has been one that's already been approved, and then it'll just auto-reject the duplicates so they don't have to waste human reviewer time going through. We're going to show you guys how a little bit more of an advanced pattern for users to set up in the front end. So there is a use case for a parent-child relationship that we're going to walk through that business users can actually set up in Control Panel. Parent-child, one-to-many, that sort of thing. I know that a lot of your business users might not be familiar with that terminology, but this is another one of those places that developers can go in and kind of explain like, hey, in our example, we are using review forms. So one session conference proposal form comes in, but maybe we need 5 reviewers, right? So that would be an example of a parent-child relationship. So we're going to show how front-end users can set that up all by themselves without your intervention. Maybe you explain it once and then they can do it from there and kind of lighten some of your development load. The last thing that we're going to show is a custom task type. This is where we have incorporated the Appian signature functionality. This is just incorporating another out-of-the-box Appian feature, but it's not necessarily available to Case Management Studio. So we've just created a custom task type that allows users to go in and upload a signature, and then you guys can use it wherever else you need in Case Management Studio. But initially, signatures are not available in Case Management Studio, so it's a nice, easy thing that you can add. But a lot of people need. A lot of signatures tend to be needed in your solutions. So with that, we're going to dive into the first example. So this is that duplicate detection example. So what we've done here is we've created a custom AI agent to detect possible duplicates, like I said. So it's that example of maybe there are 30 people who want to present on Case Management Studio, and we don't want to have to go through a bunch of reviews. So the intention of this is to reduce review time by human reviewers. That's pretty common for the AI agents. We're just using this as an example. You guys could create custom AI agents to summarize things, to do auto routing, that sort of thing. But we're just going to show kind of a very brief example of what we did to extend this. Okay. So the first thing I'm showing here on screen is the AI agent itself. So this is just set up in Appian. We're utilizing the Appian AI agents. We didn't need to do any sort of integration with some sort of outside AI. What we've done is give our AI agent pretty basic instructions in just plain language to take in the case. It's going to try to score it on a scale of 0%, meaning that it is entirely original and does not have anything, it's completely original, to 100%, meaning that there's definitely a match. 100% it thinks that there's a match. So we've given it some tools here. It's going to attempt to score that case. It's going to look through the case record, which comes built in with Case Management Studio. So this is a record type that when you import Case Management Studio into your environments, comes there. And then we're also using a record type that actually was created by the front-end users. So there's another record type there that you can see called Conference Application Form Session Proposal Form. Kind of a mouthful. It loves to give mouthful names to the record types. But that's one that it was auto-generated by Case Management Studio. So a user went in, they created a new case type, and then it generated this record type that then you as developers can use. So it's going to use those two case types, and it's going to output that likelihood score. The next thing that we've done is put it into a super basic process model. I'm sure that a lot of you are looking at this and thinking that this is pretty basic. But all this process model is doing right now is calling my AI agent, and then we've added a custom field to that case record that comes, once again, built in with Case Management Studios to save that likelihood score. That way we can use it in other places. You'll need to use this process model at other places and weave it throughout your app. And right now we're just going to show one example of kind of weaving in some of the things that we build into Case Management Studio. So Case Management Studio comes with a bunch of objects. The one that we're looking at right now is one that comes with Case Management Studio when you initially import it. This is the form that is used in Control Panel to set up tasks. So if you are a case manager and you're trying to set up a workflow for the first time, it'll display this interface so that you can set up your task according to what task type it is. So we're looking at this interface. This is a really common pattern in Case Management Studio, this A-bang match. It's basically trying to say, what type of task type am I trying to set up? Which interface am I going to show based off of my A-bang match? So we created a new constant just for the new duplicate detection automation. We use this A-bang match pattern. I'm using this as an example because I had to update like 15 different A-bang matches in Case Management Studio. They love this pattern. But you'll also need to incorporate it into some of your process models. There are places where it will branch off and trigger different processes depending on the case type, stuff or task type, things like that. I think that's a good example. Appian has some really great online guides that'll walk you through everywhere that you'll need to update. But here I'm just going to show what it looks like now that I'm trying to add that automation after I wove it into my application. So I'm acting as though I am a case manager. I'm adding my automation. You can see that when I add my new duplicate detection automation, it pops up there in the corner. But since I'm adding it to an existing workflow and I want this to be the very first thing that happens before it routes to a human reviewer, I'm going to push it up to the top so that right after the start means that they've submitted it for the first time. The first step in the workflow is going to be this duplicate detection. So I'm saying at the start, we're going to route here instead. And then you can see it's starting to put it in there. And then on my duplicate detection task, this is that custom interface that I just told it to show up when I am implementing my new task types. And I'm going to say if it's the threshold that the AI agent outputs is greater than 70%, I am going to route it to decline application. It's probably a duplicate. If it thinks that it's 70% chance, it's probably a duplicate. And then I'm going to say if it's less than 70%, we're going to route it to a human reviewer. So there we go. We'll route it to our review application form. So you can see it incorporates it into the process visualization there on the left-hand side. I just showed like one place that you need to update it. That's not the only place that you need to update it in Designer. I was just using that as an example. But once you go through, it does incorporate it to the front end where then you kind of pass it off to the business users to utilize in whatever workflows they need. So we built this specific for the conference session proposal forms. You can make certain task types available to like your business users depending on what it is that they need for their workflows. So that's the first example. Incorporating these AI agents, I think, is pretty easy. Appian's made it accessible. You can use plain language to set up your AI agents. And then depending on how complex you need your process models that are triggered or how complex of logic you need, it's kind of up to you as the developers to talk to your clients and then analyze Case Management Studio to figure out where to weave them in and incorporate them. But they are just all regular design objects. So if you have familiarity with SAIL, it's pretty easy to figure out where to go put them in. Okay, so while Appian developers are building AI agents and making custom things, next we're going to walk through something that business users can set up on the front end, but they still might need a little bit of assistance from developers to set up because some of these concepts are just a little bit foreign. So here we're going to show setting up that one-to-many parent-child session review form. So this is the idea that, after TJ and I submitted our session proposal, some Appian people are going to need to go in and look at the proposal and say yes or no, do we want to accept this and move forward? So maybe there's going to be one reviewer, maybe there's going to be 10 reviewers. We aren't sure. It'll depend on the workflow, most likely, right? So here, it's easy to create by business users. I'm going to show you how they're doing it in the front end. We don't even need to look at Designer for this portion. And then Appian will auto-generate, like I mentioned, some of those interface objects, custom record types, stuff like that. So this time I'm in the control panel. We're looking at that same place that TJ had showed earlier. So this looks very familiar because we showed it about 10 minutes ago. But here you can think of the case types as developers as record types. So Case Management Studio comes with that one base Case Management Studio case. And then when you hit create category or you hit create case type within a category, it auto-generates a record type. So, and these are totally normal record types that then, like we just showed using the AI agent, you guys can utilize in other places. So when you think of case type, case category, think record type. That's what the users are generating. It does love to give them wordy names, so it makes for a fun time finding them and utilizing them later, but that's what you guys can think of. So here we are looking at the case categories. The first one that you see is the conference form. That's one that we were just working on the workflow for, but we're going to look at the review rubrics instead. So we have a different case category that we've created for our review rubrics, so it's separate from the conference form. Here, you can set up things like we had showed before, where you can auto-generate the interfaces. So when a user is going in to submit that review form, this is where business users can set up and say, here's all the fields that I want to capture on my review form. Here's the interface that I want to show on the review form, that sort of thing. The users, once again, this auto-generates Appian interface objects, so if you want to go in and snazz them up, make them a little bit nicer than the auto-generated ones, you'll have an interface object generated for you as a developer. But otherwise, the business users, it can be pretty hands-off, or at least give a good jumping-off point for developers. So it takes a little bit of the burden off of you guys with having to go in and make all these interfaces for them. But they do look pretty basic, I think, as developers. It kind of just lists out all the fields, and I think developers can do a lot to make things maybe look a little bit nicer. Here, we've actually jumped back to our conference proposal form, so I'm away from my child type, and I'm now into my parent type. So this is that same workflow that I was just working on where I incorporated my duplicate detection. And I'm just going to show what it looks like when they're trying to set up that parent-child relationship. So we created a different case type for the review form, and now I have added a task in my workflow for create case. So this is one of the task types. There are 6 that come inbuilt. I'm going to show a little bit more about those in a second in the last demo that I do. But one of those basic 6 ones is create case, where in a workflow for one case type, you can trigger creating another case. So here we're trying to trigger creating our session review form. And then in the case details, you can set up what type of relationship the one that is being triggered to create has with the primary workflow that you're adding it to. So here we're saying that we are going to create a conference review rubric. That's what we've called our other case type. And you can see that it just says child relationship. Setting this up will also generate some of those relationships that you guys have probably seen in record type. So it'll auto-generate the parent-child one-to-many relationship in the record type that you guys can utilize in other places. So it's really easy. It's just a drop-down for the users. I know this itself, I think, is pretty basic for them to set up. But I do think that sometimes talking about I'm not sure that a lot of business people maybe have experience with the child language. So developers can come in and set that up, or help them set up initially as part of their training and onboarding. I think that that's one of the biggest things that you as developers can do is have a good training portion for setting up the business users who are going to be using this. So now I'm a business user, and I'm just going to show what it looks like to actually, if I am completing my case, this is what it looks like when I go into my workflow, and then I'm trying to complete this review rubric. So I am setting up, this is the top level case. So every time you do a create case, it triggers that top level case form because all of them are related to that top level case management studio case record type. And then this is the review rubric itself that the business user set up. So here we have a few questions. We're saying, does it provide value? Is it compelling? This is for Case Management Studio, and we're presenting this, so I'm going to say, yeah, it's compelling. And then I'm going to say, I love this, and we should definitely move forward with it. And then when they complete this form, it just moves forward in the workflow that the business users have set up. So in our example case here right now, we are just creating one of them, but they can set up, now that they have that parent-child relationship established, if they want, they could have 5 cases, however many they need for their human reviewers. They can trigger them. So it'll write a new row to the database, and then it has the summary review page. You guys, it'll all be linked up together. They can use that in metrics in Process HQ. They can add it to dashboards if they need to go see review metrics for maybe how many people review each case, how long a reviewer is taking, things like that. All of that's available to end users or developers to add to interfaces. So yeah, the parent-child relationship, pretty easy to set up. I think that there's a lot of stuff, like we said, that you can set up in Case Management Studio, but setting up some of these record-type relationships is another thing that kind of takes some of the burden off developers so that you guys can do and add and extend other things into Case Management Studio. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to show is that signature task. This is another thing that developers, I'm going to be showing the back end, so we're going to show a little bit of the database, because this is where we're going to start off. We set this up so that users can, we're going to create a new custom task type that will show up in drop-downs. So I mentioned the Case Management Studio comes with 6 task types initially. You guys can add more task types. So we're going to show adding an additional task type, and then once you've created it and weaved it into your Case Management Studio application, it's available for business users to add to their workflows, and then workers to actually, go in and add the signatures themselves when they're executing their cases. So this is, it's custom functionality in the sense that it is not inbuilt with Case Management Studio, but it is inbuilt with Appian, so we are going to be utilizing just the Appian signature field for this. Okay, so I'm starting off this time in MariaDB. I'm in the database. This is a table that comes with Case Management Studio called task behavior type. So here you can see that there are 7 rows. Case Management Studio comes with 6. So those first 6, the confirmation, the decision, the document upload, the automation, the create case, send email, and then we have inserted a new one there for signature. So if you want the new signature task type or whatever you're going to create your custom custom task type for, this is where you're going to start. You're going to insert your new task type into the database. You can set up some other things here too, such as like an icon. So if they're selecting this task type to add to their workflows, it'll show like a little icon next to it. You can also add some branding information here, like the background color and icon color. We've just used the defaults here, but if you have custom stuff that you want to use for your customer, you can update the branding information here as well. In fact, you can update it for any of them. So if you want to update the branding for the other ones as well, you can change them all up in here. Next, we're navigating over to the task table itself. This is another table that just comes inbuilt with Case Management Studio. So when you first import it into your environments, this is one of the tables that's created. So not created by end users, just comes with Case Management Studio. We decided to add the signature ID to the task type. There are a few different ways that you could do this. You could utilize, there's document upload functionality as well within Case Management Studio. So if you want to utilize that to set up signatures, you can do that. In our case, we decided to just put a signature ID into the task type. We wanted our signatures linked to the tasks themselves. That way we could tell a little bit easier who who created each signature. If you haven't used the signature component, what it does is just allows users to kind of use their mouse to sign on the screen, and then it generates an Appian document. So that signature ID is going to be the ID number of the document that's generated by the signature field. So we wanted many signatures to be available. Maybe we need 5 signers. I don't know. Maybe every person who reviews it needs to do a signature on the final form. So we wanted them all tied to the tasks. So we put it into the task table. Next, I'm just showing that that task record type. So once again, I want to reiterate, everything that comes with Case Management Studio is just Appian. So this is just a regular synced record type. It's really easy to add things in. You can see I added that signature ID down there. I also made it type document because, once again, the Appian signature field outputs a document. So you can utilize some of the Appian document functionality if you want. All you have to do is you add it in the database as you normally would, and then you do map record fields, and it shows up just like a regular record type, because it is just a regular record type. It's just something that Appian is giving you guys to play with. So you can see it has some pretty complex relationships set up over there. But as far as like adding things to these record types, if you want to save a signature ID, maybe you want to save a routing ID, maybe you're uploading it to Box instead, and you want to save the URL or something, you can just add them to your record type and then save them as you need. Next, we're looking at another interface. This is an interface that's actually used by case workers. So I mentioned earlier, like Case Management Studios loves a bang match. They've done that again here. This is the form that case workers use when they actually want to go complete their task. So when they hit complete task, this is the interface that is triggered. So we are saying here, if the task type that I'm trying to complete is signature task, then I'm going to show my signature field. So this is another thing that developers you would do if you have inserted a new custom task type. You would need to come into this particular interface and update this particular a-bang match statement to say, hey, my new task type, this is what I want to show for my custom task type. Next, I'm just going to show what it looks like on the front end. So here, I'm acting as though I am a caseworker. I'm coming in. I want to execute that signature. It's gone through all the reviews and approvals. It says, yeah, we're ready to go. We're going to sign our document committing to presenting an Appian world. And I'm going to utilize that Appian signature field. I'm going to do a flawless. That's exactly how my signature looks with my mouse on my laptop. And then I'm going to add whatever comments I need. The comments come built in with the task type, so that's not something that you guys need to set up. But you can if you want to adjust it. And then once I complete this, it'll upload that new signature document to Appian. It'll save it to the signature ID field that we added to our task type. And for this one, I don't think that we really even needed to adjust the process models. Once you add it to the record type fields just get added automatically. So didn't have to do too much more setup after this. So adding the signature task, I think that this one is actually probably one of the most reusable use cases. A lot of people need signatures. A lot of workflows they want to add signatures to. And then once you have your signatures uploaded, you can do things like maybe you want to add another automation to apply signatures to documents. The same way that we added the AI automation, you could create an automation to take the signature tasks or signature documents that were created and insert them into something, right? Maybe you want to add another automation to upload it to, I said, Box or SharePoint, wherever it is. I know that a lot of people love to integrate with outside document storage. That sort of thing. So adding these custom task types just gives your users more flexibility in the types of tasks that they're able to create. There are certain things that maybe you can't necessarily do with just the basic create case, certain Appian components that you want to expose to them. And it's really easy for you as developers to just go in, create these new custom task types, and then give them for your business users to play with and add to their workflows. So we have one more thing that TJ is going to show. That's the last of the kind of customizations, but we did do one more customization for reporting. So,
all right, thank you, Kirsten. Yeah, so when it comes to reporting and insights, we leverage Process HQ for quick data exploration and reporting. One of the reasons why we're able to do this was because, like Kirsten mentioned, in the control panel, when the case managers go ahead and configure these workflows and processes and the rules, we do have records that get created in Designer. And because we have the records in Process HQ, it's easy to build the reports off of the records. We also added that reports tab to Workspace. So the out-of-the-box solution doesn't have the reports tab in Workspace. So we added that to just centralize some of the key metrics for case workers and case managers. And then finally, we used Process HQ's sharing functionality to just enhance collaboration between business users and even developers. So let's just quickly see Process HQ in action as it relates to our use case. Again, so like I mentioned, this is an example report. This is an example report that was generated based off of one of the record types that was created from case manager in the control panel. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, we do have AI Copilot. So right from the onset, you're able to gain insights into this reports or chats that you can generate with Process HQ. This is a report that was already created, but then once these reports are created or edited, all those reflect in Designer as well, so developers can actually go in and make use of this. So if we click to edit this report, for example, in the middle column, we have all these columns of the grid. You can easily adjust whatever columns you want to show on the grid. So the columns that show currently are highlighted. If you just click out of it, it's as easy as that. You can also filter the data set if you wanted to, for example, see more pertinent information as it relates to you. That's available from Process HQ as well. And then another thing that you can do is you can change the design. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have several designs you can choose from. In this example, we just wanted a grid that you can, of course, add charts to this. You can show charts and grids, or you can slice and dice it however way you want. There was another function that was really appreciated by the business, the export to Excel button. You can decide at this point if you wanted to show up or not, right here from Process HQ. And then finally, you can very easily add user filters to grids as well, right here from Process HQ. So it's as simple as just clicking through and selecting whatever field you want to filter using. And once you do all that, in the middle column on the top left-hand side, you should see the user filter show up very easily. So all this we were able to do quickly just because Case Management Studio is set up to just generate these records very easily. Also talking about the sharing of this report, it's easy to share the reports. As you can see, you can invite colleagues to collaborate on reports. If you're satisfied with everything that you've done, all the updates, and you click to save, what happens, like I said, was that in Designer, these reports and dashboards are available to you. So if we navigate back to the Designer view and go to the case management-based application, you can see that I did import the reports and the dashboards into this application. This just gives you a little bit more flexibility with how you can use them. and give access to business users to use them as well. So in addition to this, like we mentioned, we added that reports tab in Workspace as well. We were able to pull from this to also just centralize some key metrics for business users right here at Workspace, and we're really happy about this as well. So just to recap, because these sync records get automatically generated all the way from the control panel, it just made working with Process HQ seamless for both the developers and the business users. All right, in terms of outcomes, we were able to achieve major operational outcomes with our implementation. The first being that the number of tickets that were created for this case management studio solution were less than what was created for the previous case management tool that was being used. We were also able to better handle data-intensive processes, just making the whole process a bit more accurate and scalable. And then the development time reduced by half using Case Management Studio. So this is one thing we saw as well. And then, like Kirsten mentioned, implementing the dynamic task assignment and incorporating AI into the workflows just enhanced the functionality of the workflows. And then finally, Appian's Case Management Studio was easy to modify by both the business and the developers, and the business really did welcome using this tool.
So just to recap, Case Management Studio is an easy-to-extend tool. You as developers can work together with your business users to build easily customizable workflows. Once the initial setup is done, developers can focus on high-impact areas, while business users are setting up those workflows that they have deep understanding of, so you don't have to spend as much time coordinating with them. We found that Case Management Studio was a great solution for our clients, and we hope that you guys might try it out too. So thank you all. I think that we are right at time, but if you guys do have questions or you want to come up, feel free to find TJ and I, and we're happy to talk to you about Case Management Studio. So.